What is up, everybody? I am Kevin Iole, joined now by a guy I am glad to say is back, and he is back in more ways than one, the UFC light heavyweight contender, Dominick Reyes. Dom, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm excellent, man. I'm living the dream, Kevin.
I always love to see you because you're such an interesting guy, and you're kind of I wasn't going to say this before, but you're kind of a streaky fighter, right? All those wins in a row, few losses in a row, now back on a win streak. I guess going into this fight, UFC 314 on Saturday in Miami against Nikita Krylov, you're kind of on the right kind of streak.
Oh yeah, I like being on this side of the streak for sure.
Man, was it mentally the most difficult part for you of the losing streak? Coming off that performance where a lot of people thought you beat Jon Jones, and then to rattle off those losses in a row, was dealing with that mentally the biggest hurdle that you had to face?
Yeah, I mean, there was so many different things going in so many different directions in my life at the time. So yeah, dealing with it mentally is the hardest part. Physically you could be in great shape and all that, but if you're not there mentally, you're screwed.
I think, sometimes we on the outside, we just look at you guys, hey, these are great athletes, blah, 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 blah. Nothing should affect them. But I mean, I think you're probably evidence of the stuff that, hey, sometimes life gets in the way, and it's not just who's the better athlete and who's the better trained, but sometimes life and issues in your real world come into play, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, just like any sport, they say it's like 80% mental, right? So if I'm not there mentally, or if, there's chinks in the armor, it's going to show in the octagon. That's the thing with the octagon. If you have just a little bit imbalance, it's going to show.
How did you overcome? How do you change it, right? Like, so you got to, so you're one of the few that got it going back the other way, right? You had you had the bad streak. A lot of people gave up on you. A lot of people said Dom Reyes is done. That UFC ought to cut him. You turned the page and you flipped it. You became, you got yourself back onto the winning column and becoming a contender again. What was the key, and how did you overcome I guess the self doubt that would creep in?
Yeah. So a lot of it started with gratitude, just being grateful for, every day, every training session. Um, I really leaned into my religion. I mean, I took the next step as a man. When I was on that undefeated streak, I was a young fighter, young kid who had just become a professional athlete, and then I wasn't. I was going. I was just doing what I thought I should do as a professional athlete. Going out, going to the club, women, et cetera, et cetera, and just not using my power for good. Right, I wasn't using my
Right.
platform for good. I was just kind of being selfish and kind of vain, and I was just on the wrong track, man. And I had to really refocus, and like all that mattered was winning. All that mattered was winning the title. That's all I cared about. And after I stopped winning, it was like, who am I and what am I now?
Right.
So I had to really look in the mirror and refocus and get my life really back on track.
Wow, that is interesting. And Dom, you're probably best known for your fight with Jon Jones, a fight that you lost, your first career fight. And not many people are known for a fight that they lost, but in your case, a lot of people thought you won. Um, I would imagine at the time, it really stings because you were so close to having Dana wrap the belt around your waist. And then losing that fight kind of sent you into that spiral. But do you think it's good now in the long run that you lost that? Did it teach you something about yourself, and in actually in the long run really made you stronger?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that. So it just wasn't my time. Like I said, I wasn't a, the best role model. Well, I mean, I was, but then I went off the rails there after all
Yeah.
that. Like I was everything, and then I lost it, and then it was just like I started questioning everything. I questioned the sport. I questioned the integrity of everything. I just started being bitter. Being bitter is not the way to live your life, and so yeah, man. I mean, there's many aspects to losing that fight that affected me.
Yeah.
Financially, I could have been champion, and then the rematch would have been huge. Blah blah blah.
Right.
But yeah, man. I don't know. I'm
Have
just
you
focused
let
on.
have you let it
I'm
go?
so far beyond that now that it's like
Yeah.
it's hard to think about it. Who, how, what happened, what led to it, all that stuff. It's just like I'm a
And that's what
completely different
that's what I was
place.
just saying. Have you let it go? Right. Like
I
you
fully
don't.
let it go. I had to move on and just obviously move on. I mean, if you want to keep fighting and competing, you have to move on from your previous battles. But yeah, I'm just I don't even remember any of that stuff like
Interesting.
anymore. It's really weird.
Before we get into the Krylov fight, I want to ask you about Dustin Jacoby. So that was the fight where you got the win, you got the knockout, and it got you back on the right track. I am certain that you went into that fight confident, but also, you go, hey, I've had my ups and downs here, right? Like, so can you talk about the emotion when the fight was stopped and you finally got it, like, I'm back, baby. Like, what was that like knowing that, okay, finally, I have done all the work. I've made the changes in my life, and now it finally paid off. What was that moment like for you?
Man, just pure adulation, man. It was that gorilla was off my back. All that doubt, everything, all that. It was just I was free and validated once again. Everything was just you make a bunch of life changes and you're doing things a new way, and then you're unsure about it, how it's gonna go, and then once it works out, it's just like,
Yeah.
man, thank God, like just grateful, like so grateful, so just happy and just such a pure feeling.
As I mentioned, Dom is fighting Nikita Krylov at UFC 314 in Miami on ESPN Plus pay-per-view on Saturday. Krylov at the DraftKings Sportsbook is a -175 favorite. Reyes is +145. The over/under is 1.5, and over is the favorite right there. Krylov, a very interesting guy. He's been successful for a very long time, coming off a really nice submission victory over Ryan Spann. Do you think this is going to be one of those hard, grueling fights? I mean, or do you think there's a chance that this fight could end quickly?
I've prepared for a war. I've definitely prepared for a war. He has an incredible gas tank, an incredible chin, and his pace is it's like a featherweight pace. So
Mm.
he's constantly pushing, constantly going, constantly boom, boom, boom. So yeah, I prepared for a very grueling, tough fight. That's for sure.
The thing that's interesting about him, if you look at his record, his last four fights, he's 3-1 in the last four. He loses by submission, he wins by knockout, he wins by decision, and then he wins by submission. So, pretty much he's going all over the book, like he's changing and going every way. Does that make him harder to prepare for, knowing that, hey, there's no one area where, he's stronger in and I can just prepare for that, or there's no one area that he's significantly weaker in?
Yeah, I agree with that assessment. He's yesterday in the press conference, I said he might be one of the toughest matchups in the division. It's just people don't really know about him, or probably because he doesn't speak English.
Right.
He's not well known, but he's very well rounded. He's very good everywhere, and it is tough to prepare for. But it's one of those things where it's exciting to prepare for. It's a guy that's a really good fighter, and when I came into this, I wanted to fight the best fighters in the world, and I still do. So
Mm.
fighting Nikita definitely checks that box for me. He's a very quality weigh-in, very very quality fighter.
It's interesting, I was looking before you jumped on here to, doing some research on it, and you both have fought so many elite fighters, former champions. He's fought Ankalaev, who is the current champion, Glover, Blachowicz. You fought Blachowicz. So you both have that thing, but you were in there with Jon Jones, and to me that, like surviving Jon Jones, like to me that says something, right?
Yeah.
Mentally, I know you said you're not even thinking about those times again, but that Jon Jones is the greatest fighter of all time, and knowing that you not only went 5 rounds with him, but a lot of people thought you won. What confidence-wise does that still do anything for you today?
Yes and no. I mean, that is part of my experience, right? So it's like it's just something I've gone through and something different things I've seen in the octagon, different ways I've felt pushed, and different adaptations I've made. Like I know what I'm capable of. It's one of those things like what you're capable of. But it's not something where I'm like, oh yeah, I fought Jon, so I'm gonna win. It's just like
Yeah.
I know what I'm capable of. I know what he's capable of. I think between me and him, we fought everybody in the division.
Right.
So it's like it's a good clash of the Titans over here. Um, yeah, I think he's a great fighter, and I'm also a great fighter. I feel like I have the advantage in a few areas. So we'll see what happens on Saturday, man. I think we might steal the show.
Yeah, no, this is a good show, and if you steal this show, you're doing something in that fight. 2 more questions I want to ask you. Number one, just where the division is right now. Alex Pereira made such a big splash and became such a big superstar. He just lost the title to Ankalaev, and it seems to me like we have a really strong light heavyweight division again. And light heavyweight for a long time was the power division in the UFC from Chuck Liddell time for a long time. But I thought maybe like around the 2020 or time it was kind of dropping down a little bit. But do you agree with that? Like, do you feel like the light heavyweights now have kind of regained their mojo, and you really have a deep top 10, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's a very dangerous and scary division, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. I've always been very proud to be part of this division. It's the premier division, in my opinion, and yeah, man, it's really cool to see it coming back and just having a lot of strong competitors.
So let's wrap it with this then. You beat Krylov on Saturday. What's the plan for the rest of 25? One more fight, 2 more fights, and how do you feel like a win will position you in that deep and strong division?
Yeah, so I beat Nikita on Saturday. Maybe get one more in this year, and then looking at a title shot in 26.
There we go. Well, we look forward to it. Dom Reyes is always a good guy to talk to. Wish you the best of luck at UFC 314 on Saturday, my friend. Thank you, Dom, for appreciate your time.
Thank you, Kevin. Have a great day.
See you soon.